Welcome back, everybody. This is an addendum to my 5-part video series looking at image 12 verse 10 from The Secret. And I got some good feedback online, and I wanted to share some of the ideas that had been kind of thrown back and forth. First, I got some feedback on the wave down here, and people had said they thought it was a stretch, that I was trying to use it as a symbol for a nor'easter, and after looking at it, I agree with them. I think it was a stretch. I took a more simple approach and looked at it again, and I think that it's real simple. This side of the wave is closed, and this side of the wave is open, and it's directly under where the mouth of the East River would be on this image. And I think it's real simple. They're just telling us that the east side is the open side. Also, it was pointed out to me that in the image is the number 74 in the water, right here. And I wasn't aware of that. I thought this puzzle was identified by the Statue of Liberty. And so the 74 was new to me. But what's amazing is that it actually fits my solution to a T. Let me show you how. The 74th longitude runs diagonally through, and the only place where it is in the water is at the mouth of the East River. So there it is, the 74 right in the water. So I don't think there's much more support I can get than that. But I went ahead and did one other thing, and that was overlay the flight path of the bird leaving Ellis Island. If you recall from my first video, I felt like the bird was a representation of Ellis Island, and so you can see that its flight takes it directly to the mouth of the river as well. If we go north from there, up to Roosevelt Island, follow down the river. Someone shared with me that in the image, you can actually see Roosevelt Island right here in the middle of her dress. I hadn't even picked up on that. Here's the bridge cutting across, right here where the tie in the middle is. She's also pointing to this side of the island, exactly where we point with our clock. I found that kind of interesting as well. So speaking of the clock, I did have some real pushback on this. Some people lack imagination, so I'm going to explain this to them again real slow so they can understand it this time. Here we have the cathedral, here we have the bridge, and here we have the clock. Now the cathedral and the bridge are exactly 180 degrees north to south from each other. And the minute hand of the clock is also exactly 180 degrees. So this point right here is where the cathedral is at, and this point up here is where the bridge is at. We have this hour hand out here that's showing us that we need to find another spot. And that spot ends up being the lighthouse. Now, you can figure this out doing some simple math using any version of the picture that you want. All you have to do is measure this distance of the minute hand, this distance of the hour hand, and you'll get a ratio of those two numbers. You can also measure the angle between the two. And when you go to your map and you measure the distance on your map, it doesn't matter if it's a paper map, doesn't matter if it's Google Earth, this ratio between these two lines will equal the ratio of these two lines. And I can prove it. I overlaid the image from here, and I started to blend in the clock, and it is almost a perfect match. The ratios are the same, and that is about as good a proof as you can get that what I did was correct, that you were supposed to use those 2 points to find the lighthouse point. Now from there, just to review, I took half the distance and took a line out to the east, and then I saw that there were two 22nds, a 22nd road and a 22nd street, so I extended those into the park. And where this line intersected, that was a point of interest for me. But I really didn't know what to do. After looking at the verse, I think I finally figured out the ending to this. So look down and see, I think, is an instruction for us to see what's happening in the very next couple words, which is simple roots. Everybody thinks Rhapsodic Man is George Gershwin, and I agree with them. He has an important role in this because obviously his ties to New York as an American composer, but also Byron Price was a huge fan of his, and he is a very famous piano player. The thing he wants us to look down and see, though, is the simple roots and how it relates to soil. This is a riddle here. This isn't literal. We're not looking for roots in the soil. Those aren't going to last. But what will last is something else that's a little bit more permanent. And so when he says simple roots, he's not talking about roots in the soil. He's talking about a root from a literature, because he's a publisher, he's a writer, he has literary references all throughout his poems. And when he's talking about roots, he's talking about the root of this word, soil. Where did it come from? When you look it up, it's a Latin word. It comes from the Latin word solium, which means seat. And so essentially you get Rhapsodic Man's seat, or George Gershwin's seat. What does a piano player sit on? They sit on a bench. And when you go to the location where these two lines cross, you're going to see that there are 3 benches directly across the path. Now we have one more clue that's going to help us finish this thing off, and that is, or gaze north toward the Isle of B. Well, if we pull back and take a look, you'll see that the North Brother Island is right up there. And if we look towards it from our spot, you will see that it's going to pass directly through those benches. And that is where we need to search. That area right there, right behind that second bench in the middle, is where I believe the cask is hidden. Now please understand that it is illegal to dig in a New York City park. And so my disclaimer right now is I am not encouraging or trying to suggest that anyone should go and dig there. I'm just pointing out that this is where I believe that the cask is hidden. What you do in your own free will is on you. So be warned. So there it is, people. That's where I believe the cask is hidden. Let me know what you think.